Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Monday, the 7th of April, 2025. These are the stories that we'll try to understand and decipher during the course of our show. We'll begin with Pakistan's war on terrorism. Nothing new there, but of course, the number of incidents do keep on increasing, whether it be what happened in Ismail Khan, in which the Khawarij were sent to hell, whether it be other incidents that have been happening in other parts of the country as well, or the nabbing of, Fitna al-Khawarij that has also happened in Karachi. The fact is that such nefarious outfits have been breeding their ugly heads in different parts of Pakistan, and despite different the number of times that our neighboring country Afghanistan has been told by Pakistan to curtail the presence of such nefarious outfits, and if they cannot at least disallow them from passing through the borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan, but unfortunately that hasn't reeled some kind of a result as far as this is concerned. What needs to be done? There is a new organization that has also been made now today under NACTA. How important is NACTA under the current circumstances as well? This and more will be decided and discussed during the course of our first segment. Our second story concerns Palestine, Gaza. Today is day 548 of the conflict between Palestine and Israel, and the number of casualties is increasing despite the fact that there was some kind of a semblance of ceasefire that could maybe continue, but it seems as if Israel is all hell bent on continuing its barbaric activities within Gaza. Not only that, also continuing with its famine within the Palestinian territories, and the bombardments on the hospitals, the killing of the journalists that has now surpassed 232, and the list goes on and on. The humanitarian workers who have been killed, 15 humanitarian workers that Israel refused to acknowledge and then had to acknowledge because of the video that was released by New York Times. This and more is going to be part of our second segment. Then we are going to talk about the World Health Day that is being observed today and across the world as well. This is also the day when the World Health Organization was founded way back in 1948, and that is why the importance of this day becomes paramount. The theme this year is Healthy Beginnings, Hopeful Futures. This is going to be a year-long campaign that is going to be beginning under the auspices of the World Health Organization to take care of maternal and child health. Finally, we're going to talk about a rat. This is interesting. A rat that has made a world record for sniffing landmines. You might have heard of rats, creating havoc in houses. A lot of people are afraid of rats, but this rat in fact helps people and saves their lives. We'll be highlighting that story as part of our last segment. Let's begin today's newsroom, and we'll begin with Pakistan's war on terrorism. We've been joined by Major General retired Tariq. Rashid Saab in the studios. He's a defense analyst and a regular on our show, and we're also grateful that he always says yes whenever we ask him to come to the studios. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Sir, the incidents we have discussed as far as terrorism is concerned, but there's always something new that happens. Now also between the 6th and the 7th of April, an IBO was conducted by security forces in Takwar and Dera Ismail Khan, and 9 Khawarij were sent to hell, including the ringleader Shireen. And this ringleader was already sought after in many an incident, including the martyrdom of many army personnel. A day earlier, security forces had killed 8 terrorists and injured another 4, and that happened in North Waziristan on the Afghanistan border. Now, the first thing that there's a whole list of incidents that has been happening, but I'd like to cut it short and just understand why the Afghan interim government is not doing the needful, despite various attempts by Pakistan to make them understand the gravity of the situation, to make them understand that they need to take their responsibility vis-a-vis these terrorist outfits that are within their territories.
I think after the recent visit of our diplomatic envoy, Special Representative of Afghanistan, Sadiq Muhammad Khan, I think they have promised that they will take all possible action, whatever is possible within their domain, that their soil is not used for any terrorist, for example, organization to come and do such kind of thing in Pakistan.
But this
needs to be seen. This needs to be seen. Already people who have infiltrated here because of the porous border. So they are doing some such kind of operations or activities in especially erstwhile FATA and also in Baluchistan. But you see that anybody who has come to Pakistan, they have crossed border legally or illegally, and they have got themselves involved in such activities, they are being eliminated. For example, the Shireen, you have talked about it. A few days earlier, he martyred a Pakistani captain. Akhtar. So he was able to, for example, get away with temporarily. But Pakistan Armed Forces are very clear in their resolve with the support of people of Pakistan. They make sure that anyone who gets involved in such activities, his fate is elimination. And soon, inshallah, you will see that Pakistani armed forces are gaining ground. Terrorists are on the run. And soon, inshallah, the stability and peace will restore in Pakistan.
You know, when you look at the different reports that emanate as far as terrorism in Pakistan is concerned, just for the month of March, the PIX talks about the number of incidents that have surpassed 100 for the first time since November 2014. In KP, 206 people have been killed. In Balochistan, 122 fatalities have occurred. And of course, there is a huge list of how many people, how many incidents, how many injuries, how many martyrdoms. But the fact is that such incidents are increasing in intensity, and civilians are also bearing the brunt in form of casualties. What needs to be done, in your point of view, from a civilian angle and from a military angle in order to thwart these attacks and these
I think you very rightly pointed out that the number of terrorist incidents which has happened in this initial months of 2025, they have surpassed all limits if you compare them month on month or year on year basis from 2021. But accordingly, the Pakistan law enforcing agencies, especially the Pakistan Army, has also increased the number of IBOs against such elements. Initially, they were on the average under 70. Now they are nearing 200 operations which are being conducted every day. So I think these terrorists are now fighting their last ditch battle. What we need to do is that our political government, they need to take people into confidence. And gradually the people of these affected areas, especially in the Waziristan and in the affected area of Balochistan, they are realizing, because of the thanks to media, that these people who are supporting such elements are basically anti-state elements. So they have been identified amply. What we have seen in after the Jafar train incident in Balochistan, those elements who are talking of those terrorists who were killed, about 3 dozen of them. Now, for example, if they
and their roots also emanate from Afghanistan and also from India. But you know, this is a triangle that we have been seeing emanating since the last couple of years, especially since 2022. I mean, I understand that the Afghan interim government has given its reassurances that it will be done, the needful will be done. But what needs to be done effectively in your point of view, or practically by the Pakistani government or our armed forces in the weeks to come, if such a spate of terrorism continues?
We have a lot of leverage, for example. After the Sadiq Khan visit, I think it needs to be followed by at a ministerial level, and then maybe at head of the government level, this visit should follow. Then we need to engage them bilaterally at all forum of Afghanistan, and also at multilateral forum. For example, we need to take into confidence Qatar, the Saudi Arabia, the China, even the US, because the US and we have fought this war on terrorism for the decades. So they are also concerned about the presence of this the ammunition equipment left behind in Afghanistan. So we need to make use of this situation and collaborate with even US, because that US is the sole superpower, for example, at the moment. You see, the President Trump has announced tariff. The whole world is reacting to it. So China is a rising power, but in my view, China will take a couple of decades to come up to the level of US. So US is so far is a unipolar world drifting towards the multipolarity.
Okay.
So since the time US is a sole superpower, and we have a history of cooperating with them. He's in the Cold War era, in the erstwhile USSR, once it came to Afghanistan, we have collaborated with them.
And the US has also recently highlighted the fact that TTP is a global threat.
Is a global threat, and they have appreciated Pakistan, especially Pakistan's intelligence agencies, because we have handed them over recently a terrorist who was, for example, he was wanted by the US.
Exactly.
So we need to capitalize on, for example, whatever is the prevailing situation, take all these major powers like the US, the China, the Saudi Arabia, who has been assisting the Taliban, even Qatar. They have an office in Qatar, Taliban office in Qatar. So we need to engage all of them, but we also need to take our people into confidence. For example, as per the National Action Plan, the 14 points, the civil administration is supposed to reach out to those people. The armed forces can, for example, clear area and hold it, but build and transfer is the responsibility of the civil administration. So the police, the district administration, the tehsil administration, the judiciary, they need to be present on ground and they need to play their complementary role to stabilize the situation which is created by the armed forces of Pakistan, especially the Pakistan Army.
Also, you talk of NACTA. The fifth meeting rather of the Board of Governors of NACTA was chaired by NT Minister today, and it approved the establishment of the National Intelligence Fusion and Threat Assessment Center, otherwise known as the NIFTAC. The Interior Minister says the establishment center has come after consultations with the departments to fully combat terrorism. He said that this center is also going to be established in all the provincial capitals, and it will be a significant step towards achieving NACTA's core objectives. NACTA's core objectives, National Action Plan. How important is it now under the current circumstances for Pakistan to move robustly with all the points that had been adhered to between all the stakeholders under the National Action Plan?
I think this creation of NIFTAC is a very important, I think, development, and it will help at the national level to, for example, to put all the jigsaw puzzle and overall see what is happening in the country and where, for example, these incidents are happening, how to synergize the effort of intelligence and law enforcing agencies. But in my view, for example, the NACTA is being, for example, the chairman or the national coordinator is a police officer, though he's a senior police officer. But you see, if you compare that officer, his experience, his grooming, his exposure as compared to the military officer, the kind of experience he gets operationally in dealing with the internal security situation, the kind of courses he does, the kind of exposure is given to him and the grooming given to him, I think if they can put some senior retired military officer at that place, he may be able to deliver more effectively. So I think NACTA and creation of NIFTAC is a good step. It will certainly help combat this terrorism at the national level, and it will economize the resources, it will synergize our resources, inshallah.
All right. One thing is NIFTAC. A couple of weeks back, there was also the National Prevention of Violent Extremism policy that was announced by the government to tackle violent extremism, and it included a bouquet of tools including school curriculum changes, religion and social media outreach. In addition to the military tactics, it talks about 5 R's: revisiting, reaching out, reducing, reinforcing and reintegrating. Now let's take these 3 tools: school curriculum changes, religion and social media outreach. These 3 elements are extremely important, A, to brainwash people. These have been used in the past to brainwash people into joining the nefarious organizations. What kind of strategy do you feel needs to be adapted by under this National Prevention of Violent Extremism policy in order to ascertain, in order to confirm that school curriculum, religion and social media are not used for nefarious purposes?
I think you have identified and listed very important aspects. For example, in my view, if we can do one thing, if we can do a uniform education syllabus for whole of the Pakistan, as India has done it, as the US has done it. Now in Pakistan, you see there is a government school stream, there is a private school stream of various shade, then there are madrasas of various types. So you imagine that our country of 250 million people, all these institutions, whether they are private, whether they are a government school, whether madrasa, normally they are full to the capacity. And once these young people, they pass out, they complete their education, for example, so they have a different perspective about about Pakistan, about they see how to see the security situation in Pakistan. The madrasa students are very different than the government, and the government students are very different than the private school. So we need to have a uniform education system, whether you study in madrasa, you study anywhere. The Pakistan education system should be the syllabus. And then you see the registration of the madaris. You see, I was operational commander in Balochistan in 2007, 2011. Even at that time, this was a realization that they were trying to register. Till date, they have not registered 100% madrasas. Till they say they have 50% madrasas are unregistered. So that is the kind of, for example, seriousness which our government is showing. Now there is, for example, you make a good plan, good strategy, but if you cannot implement it, then there is a serious question about your resolve to, for example, to correct the system. So in my view, the action should speak louder than the words. Words are okay, but our actions should speak.
Speaking of action, let's look at the religious angle of it all. The role of our ulama cannot be denied. They are extremely important in underlining any important event that happens in Pakistan, and we've seen that with our history. Don't you feel we need to engage more and more ulama also in order for them to be the middleman between the government or the agencies and the people of Pakistan, to make them understand what our religion exactly is all about, and whatever these outfits are trying to make you understand is far from the truth?
You see, this country was created on the name of Islam.
True.
This is Islamic Republic of Pakistan.
Yes.
And we find so many types of variants of shades of Islam, which we see different seminaries and these very honorable, for example, religious scholars are propagating. So we need to engage them. But we also need to engage other stakeholders also. For example, the educationist, the very highly educated religious scholars who have done PhDs, who have done masters, who have international exposure. For example, to come onto the consensus and guide the nation that how the Islam needs to be practiced in this 21st century. So generally our people try to practice Islam which was 1400 years ago. Of course, basic are the same, but then you need to translate that how it has to be related and practiced in this 21st centuries. And then we also need to have, as I told you, if this is my personal view, that if we start teaching Quran with translation right from the first class, so people will understand that what Quran is saying. Normally, you know what we have done Quran as for example, getting some kind of sawab. It is a way of life, which is it's a living code which is given in Quran, that how we need to spend life as per the divine teachings. How need to we, for example, tolerate each other? How need to we spend our daily life? We need to speak truth. We need to be honest. We need to be clean our home, clean our society. How we need to live as a Muslim. So I think if we can somehow
inculcate that from the very beginning in our children.
Learning of Arabic and then learning of Quran with translation right from the first class. I've come across a number of people in my life, they know, they can recite number of surahs, but if you tell them, do you know the meaning of that? So even quite a few of them don't know the meanings of even namaz. So I think that if we can do that, and if we can mold our life as per the teaching of the Quran, the final book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think a lot of problems can be solved.
All right, last question, General Sahib, and that concerns the use of or misuse of social media. We've highlighted that many times, we've discussed that with you in the past as well. Jafar Express incident, the social media was used, and and it was misused rather to put people on the wrong track, and this continues to happen through different media. As how can you educate people so that they learn to understand the difference between what is right and what is wrong?
I think with the media have already played a very important role. Media can always educate people. For example, now what we see in Waziristan, what we see in Balochistan, the people are getting together and they are supporting the law enforcement agency to carry out their operations against these terrorists. And even, for example, the law enforcing elements are not present there. They themselves, for example, have encircled these terrorists and they have made them run away from their area. So I think media need to play a very important role. And make them aware, the general public, they should make them aware that anybody who talks against the Pakistan Armed Forces, anybody who talks against the nuclear program of Pakistan, anybody who talks against the state of Pakistan, basically he is the enemy of Pakistan. So anybody who has done it, there's a law. The law of the land should take action, and they should be booked, they should be dealt accordingly, and this should be highlighted in the media. I think if one institution, for example, if we can put it right, that is the judiciary. If our judiciary can dispensate quick justice to the people and can take, for example, action against one of the important national action point is speedy, for example, trial by the courts. So if you, for example, announce capital punishment speedily and they are eliminated, they are executed, it will send as a deterrence.
Exactly.
And for example, whosoever is supporting or abetting or facilitating, whether from abroad or whether from the inside the Pakistan, they need to be dealt with the same, for example.
I think they need to be dealt with a severe hand and as per the law, but in a very just and robust manner. Thank you very much, Major General Tariq Rashid Saab, Defence Analyst, to have joined us, to have talked to us about Pakistan's war against terrorism. And this is an ongoing dialogue. I just hope and wish that we see a robust end to such terrorist activities that is happening specifically in Khair Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. Let's wish and let's hope that the best happens with all the important decisions that are being taken by the government and the other stakeholders as well. Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Gaza, Middle East. Today is day 548 of that very conflict. A lot of things have been happening. Israel continues to pound Gaza. The number of casualties keeps on increasing. The number of aid workers are also, succumbing to it. Israel firstly does not accept it, then it has no option but to accept it. The 15 workers who were killed, then the number of journalists that has been killed since the 7th of October has also surpassed 232, and the list goes on and on. The majority of the casualties that have happened in Gaza since the 7th of October 2023 are women and children, and they are the ones who have borne the brunt. On top of that, what is also happening is that there is a lack of proper facilities. There is already an embargo, that is aid is not properly arriving within the Palestinian territories, within Gaza, and that is creating a huge issue. Since weeks this has been happening, and this has created a famine-like situation within Gaza. Everybody knows that, but nothing concrete is happening. The United Nations keeps on telling the world that we need to do more about it, but Israel does not allow the necessary aid to come in. On top of that, the hospitals are also in shambles. They are being bombarded as well, and that is also on the one hand being condemned, but that condemnation is not being translated into any form of action. Netanyahu is in the US as we speak. He's going to meet with Donald Trump. Whether or not this leads to some kind of a development, a positive development, we don't know. Nevertheless, all eyes are definitely on the US administration on how it will or should go forward as far as the Middle East situation is concerned. As Donald Trump himself said during his election campaign, he was an anti-war president, and that is what the world is now expecting of him. We've been joined by two guests to discuss more on that. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we've been joined by Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha Bhatti. She's a foreign affairs analyst. Dr. Saiba, thank you very much to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by Osama Muhammad Nazzal. He's a Palestinian journalist, joins us from Jenin. Brother, thank you very much to have joined us as well. We'll begin with you, Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha. Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha, 57 people have been killed in the past 24 hours. 43 were killed on Sunday as well, 17 in Khan Yunus alone. The death toll since March 18 has surpassed 1,300, must have surpassed 1,400 by now. 50,752 people have been killed officially, and that we do not even know, because the actual number will be twice or even thrice as far as that is concerned. Residential buildings, makeshift tents have completely been destroyed. The Israelis are forcing people to again displace themselves from one place to the other. And to add to this is the issues concerning the lack of aid arriving within Gaza. How do you see the situation? What's going to happen?
Well, Omar, you are absolutely correct that because the kind of humanitarian crisis the Palestinians they are facing, it is rising to an unprecedented level. And unfortunately, the international community, they are not looking after the matter the way they should be doing that. And we have seen that on the sideline of all these atrocities they are facing, international community is silent. We have seen that 548 days and there are 550,000 plus deaths. And most of them, they are children.
And
they
women,
are civilians, yes.
Women and children.
And see, the 2/3 of the Gaza completely unlivable. So one thing is clear, and that is that the Israel, the Netanyahu administration, they don't want to have a livable conditions. They are making a living hell for the Palestinians.
So that they can occupy the region, basically.
Yes, obviously. And side by side, what they are doing, they are very quietly and very in a very constructive way. What they are doing, they are building up the alternatives for them. For example, there is a two-tech policy they are adopting. They are trying to reach out to those states, those poor African states where they are trying to negotiate with them, manipulate them so that they can, allow some of the immigrants from the Palestine, 10,000 here, 20,000 there. They are basically from Somalia and South Sudan and these kind of those poor regions, those who are ready to accept those Palestinians. So I would say that's a kind of a forced immigration they are looking towards. And the secondly, what they are doing, if let's see who wants to leave their homes. So what they are doing, they a quasi kind of the concentration camps they have acquired in Gaza, and where they are pushing the people to small places where it's really suffocating to live. And now
when you don't have the basic facilities, when you don't have food, when you don't have clean water, when you don't have medicine, when you don't have other facilities, how can you, I mean, they are ensuring that if they don't, if they are not killed by the bullet, then they are killed by starvation or famine.
So that's what they are doing. Yes,
that is what they are doing. Osama, brother, 17,000 plus children have been killed since the 7th of October 2023. And then, I just want to highlight one thing. I read about this Palestinian American boy, this 14-year-old who was killed in the occupied West Bank. And the Israeli military, while confirming the attack, said that its forces shot quote-unquote terrorists who were hurling rocks in the area. Any pretext to kill, any pretext to maim, any pretext for genocide within Palestine?
Whatever comes from Israel is proved to be fake news and a big lie. And just talking about the murder crime that the Israeli forces committed against the Palestinian paramedics and civil defense staffers 2 weeks ago, and how Israel tried to publish its propaganda, telling the world that they mistook them for armed groups. While when the video was released by the United Nations 2 days ago, the whole world realized that Israel is lying all the time, and Israel's story is a fake story. So Israel has a decision to murder. Israel is committing genocide. What happened today morning, dear Omar, against the Palestinian journalists who were sleeping in a tent near Nasser hospital in Gaza? They were set on fire. We were all shocked. We were all appalled by watching the journalist sitting on the chair and the fire flame eating him out. They killed the journalist before the eyes of the whole world, and they do everything evil these days the way they like. They said that they killed this child, 14-year-old boy from the town of Turmusaya. And by the way, this child has American citizenship, Omar, and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is meeting with the American President Donald Trump. Do you think that Donald Trump is going to discuss this crime with the Israeli Prime Minister? Because the victim who was killed today is Palestinian American. He is living in the United States and coming to see his family and relatives in Palestine for a short period of time, but he had gone forever. So these crimes can't be justified. Israeli lies are revealed, and all that we lack as Palestinians and the whole world is to have international seriousness and credibility to prosecute these Israeli war criminals who set children, journalists, and paramedics on fire before the eyes of the world every day.
And this is happening every day. This is an occurrence that has been happening since the 7th of October. We've seen so many incidents in the past that, this doesn't seem like a new occurrence. It is just a continuation of what they have been doing, and then lying through their teeth by saying that this is not the actual truth, the truth is something else, when the truth is then revealed upon the world through the United Nations. And also, this report of the 15 workers who were killed, that was also released, the video was also released by New York Times, which is one of the basic major publications in the US. So everybody knows what is happening, but nobody is doing anything. Dr. Saiba, French President Emmanuel Macron urges for a ceasefire in Gaza. He has met with the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. They are also going to meet with Jordan's King Abdullah for a trilateral summit on the situation in Gaza. Will such efforts have any effect? We've heard of so many such diplomatic efforts happening in the past, but no action has happened, as a result of these efforts.
Yes, absolutely. So see, they are talking about the ceasefire, talking about some peace deal, but on the sideline of it, we are seeing that Mr. Netanyahu, he is on the visit of the Europe. Although the ICC has issued their arrest warrant, but the Hungarian today he's going to be in America, so nobody bothers about it that they should arrest him, or they should take care of the International Court of International Criminal Court and their understanding about it. So it's a kind of double standards. Yet they are talking about the peace deals, but however the practicality is something else. You are welcoming Mr. Netanyahu in the Europe, and you are not talking about anything for the Palestinians. So it means that practically you are standing with them. Similarly, I would like to add something to my dear colleague's statement that yes, so many journalists and the people, those who are being targeted over there, they are even from the UN as well. UN peacekeeping mission, the people who don't have nothing to do with the war, yet they are being targeted, and they are from various nationalities. So even their states are silent. And there is a very interesting book written on it. It's by the John Mayer Shimmer. It's about Israel lobby and US foreign policy. And he sees that the lobby is so strong that somehow America forgets about its own people. The way they are manipulating their own students, and they are, we have seen that they are not letting people, their students, do the protest in DC because Netanyahu is expected to come today. So that's how they are somehow not ready to accept their First Amendment that says the freedom of speech for their own American citizen. This much strong the Israeli lobby is in America. So that's really disturbing.
All right. In all of this is also the role that some of the organizations are taking or making efforts in order to somehow make a dent in all of this this brutality. This is the word that comes to my mind, this genocide, this war crime that is happening in Palestine. This war crimes complaint against the 10 British nationals who have served with the Israeli military in Gaza, that is going to be submitted to the Met Police in England by one of the British's leading human rights lawyers, Michael Mansfield Casey. Will that have any effect in your point of view? Will the British judicial system take action against these 10 Britons who have been participating with the Israelis against the Palestinians? Will such incidents or such efforts by Michael Mansfield also translate into similar efforts in other countries?
The question to me, Omar?
Yes, the question is to you, Osama.
Yeah, this is a very important step, and it shows that the human conscience in different parts of the world is waking up today. And it is important to compliment and to commend the efforts by any individual or by any group that file complaints against the Israeli war criminals, whether the officials in the government or the soldiers in the field who act upon orders from those officials. To a certain point, this might not be much effective, but at least we feel as Palestinians that the world today is getting more and more aware of the true face of the Israeli occupation and the Israeli colonial power. Because we suffered so much, Omar, as the word used to describe Israel as a democratic state, as a civilized state, a state that believes in human rights, and all this mantra. But when we see such steps by these legally groups, whether individuals or organizations, and we see the public demonstrations and the international strike that is being implemented in many, many states around the world today, this shows that Zionism can't hide itself anymore, and the world is aware of its reality as a colonial, sadistic, fascistic entity. That is the importance of such a step.
But the importance of such step would be even more if such actions are translated into actual results or could be result oriented, because if they are just submit a report to the police and the police does nothing about it and it does not translate into any kind of pressure tactic on the Israelis, then what does such a report or any such action serve?
You know that this complaint is filed against British individuals who participated in the Israeli military aggression against Gaza, and some of them have the Israeli and the British nationalities. So it is up to the British judiciary if Britain has a credible and real judicial system that believes in justice for all. These soldiers must be punished not only because they harmed and they committed the crimes against the Palestinian people in Gaza, but because they tarnished the image of the British people and the UK as a state and as an international power on this planet. Now, let's wait and see how the British court is going to handle this case, whether it is going to prove that Britain has a credible justice system or it is a biased justice system that takes decisions against people maybe from Africa, from Asia, but when it comes to Israel, it is just like the system we have in the United States of America.
All right, Dr. Saiba, coming to you. Israel at this moment, as per the reports, is controlling 50% of Gaza, as Palestinians, as Yusuf said, are being forced into small areas and then are being denied the basic necessities, and that is what UNRWA is also saying, that the famine-like situation is already present since quite some time. Nothing is happening. The Israelis, in fact, military dismisses media reports that the army will allow food or any aid into the besieged territories. Then, as Yusuf said, Netanyahu is in the US. Under all of these circumstances, doesn't the role of the ICC or the ICJ become pertinent? But then when we hear of countries that say that we are no longer going to become members of ICC and we are going to side with Netanyahu, what does it even show as far as international organizations such as the ICC or their validity is concerned?
Yes, they are basically making fun of their own institutions. These are the institutions they always talk about, they always look up to them, they always adore them, and it's the kind of international liberal agenda that was being propagated, the rights of every citizen, you know, the life, freedom, equality, and unfortunately, you know, this is not available for the Palestinians. Now, when they are making fun of their own institution, they are not taking care of their warrants, how the issue, the ICC, they issued the warrant for Netanyahu, and they are welcoming them to their land.
And they're saying, so we will no longer be part of the ICC, but we will allow Netanyahu to.
So this is something, obviously, if there is no international body that is taking care of the rights of the people in any part of the world. So this is something, you know, we are living in a chaotic world then. So nobody's life is safe. If this is Palestine today, that it could be you and any other
country in
so
the
you
future.
Cannot blame Russia for its hegemonic power if you are not taking care of Israelis atrocities in Gaza. So you cannot blame others that, okay, they are making our life hell, or they are making problems in the Europe, because you are making problems somewhere else. So you know, it should be the life and respect. Everybody should be equal, and the international community should respect those international organizations, international institutions, those who are responsible to bring peace around the world.
That is so important. We are diverting way, far away from a rules-based order as we speak. Yes. Finally, Osama, last question to you, and that concerns Yemen as well as Lebanon. People are being killed in Lebanon as far as strikes are concerned. Similarly, US forces continue bombarding Yemen, killing at least 4 people in Sana'a, and the people are being injured. These two areas are also being now slowly and steadily brought into this whole Middle Eastern conflict. Are you seeing, as we have already discussed in the past as well, an extension and expansion of this current conflict?
As long as the international community is not taking any realistic step to stop Israel's genocidal war against Palestinian people, of course, Israel will have the feeling that it has leverage and power to do whatever it wants in the region. And in this context comes its attack, whether on Lebanon, Syria, and other regional countries. And we see how it is reneging on the 1978 Camp David agreement with Egypt by keeping its forces at the Philadelphia corridor. The Israeli forces, according to that agreement, are not allowed to be there, but now they are occupying and expanding this area in violation of the agreement with Egypt. So I think that Israel, and through its war on the Palestinian people, is dragging the whole region towards the abyss of fire. And I'm afraid that things will spiral more and not only stay within the border of the Middle East, but that might go beyond the Middle East. Especially we see the policy practiced by supporter number one of Israel, Donald Trump. So the whole region is shaking off. The whole world is facing a dangerous situation. And the one behind this situation that the world is facing, I think Israel and its policy and the deliberations between the officials in Tel Aviv and the officials in Washington.
Well, let's hope a better sense prevails. We can only stay optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but at least we need to think in the right direction. Maybe some sense will prevail in the coming days. I mean, at least we can hope that. Thank you so very much, Osama Muhammad Nazzal, to have joined us from Jenin. It's always it's heartbreaking to hear the latest details, but nevertheless, it's also gives us an understanding of what is happening in the Middle East. And thank you very much, Dr. Sahiba, Dr. Gul.i.Ayesha, Bhatti, to have joined us as well in the studios and to have come here to discuss this conflict that has been going on since almost 549 days now as we speak. Let's come to our last two stories, and very, very quickly, the first concerns the World Health Day that is being observed across the world, including in Pakistan. The World Health Day also coincides with the formation of the World Health Organization that happened on this very day in 1948. This year also there is a theme, and the year theme in 2025 is Healthy Beginnings, Hopeful Futures. There's going to be a year-long campaign on maternal and newborn health that is going to be launched by the World Health Organization starting from today. The campaign is titled Healthy Beginnings and Hopeful Futures, as is the theme of this year's World Health Day is also concerned. It will urge governments and the health community to ramp up efforts and end preventable maternal and newborn deaths, and to prioritize women's long-term health and well-being. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, a rat has made a world record for sniffing landmines. Yes, you've heard it right. No longer will they just be used to create havoc inside homes, but now they are being properly used in order to ascertain or to see where the landmines are present. In Cambodia, this landmine hunting rat has set a new world record by sniffing out more than 100 mines, ladies and gentlemen, and pieces of unexploded ordnance. The exact number is 107, if I'm not wrong, 109 landmines in fact, and 15 pieces of unexploded ordnance in a region close to Siem Reap in Cambodia, according to Guinness World Records. And so this rat has also made a Guinness World Record. This rat is 5 years old, born in Tanzania, is a bit fatter than the normal rats, around the size of a cat. Nevertheless, has been extremely helpful in preventing deaths by sniffing out these landmines and unexploded places in Cambodia. Maybe we could reciprocate, or maybe we could replicate such incidents in other countries where and prevent deaths in this manner by using mechanisms such as the one being used in Cambodia. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us. You and Pakistan, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.